the gas can for the snowblower when I got in the truck this morning to see if I needed to throw it in the truck and bring it along, but I've got some gas, so I'm set to go, ready for tomorrow. My back already hurts. It still hurts from last week, so I guess it's going to be a continuation.
Well, see, my resolution, January, go to the gym. I said, no, the gym comes to
I skip gym days when I have to shovel. When I have to 4 to 7, or that's a good excuse to get out of a gym day for me. So.
I come home from work and I'm out there looking at what the plow put in there, and I grab a shovel and I'm sweating in my wingtips out there trying to get that open so I can get my car in the driveway.
Been there, done that. Yeah.
So, talking with Doug Machon here, County Board Chairman, on today's Inside program on WDLB. Well, the first question right out of the block, you know it's coming. It was a news story here earlier in the week. You are not running for re-election, and that happens not just as the board chairman, but as your seat as well, which is precursor to being elected chairman.
Yep. And I believe I said it to the reporters for the newspaper. There's a time to step away. In my mind, that time is now. I'm going to go out on top. We've accomplished a lot in the last 2 years. I think that I can leave with my head held high. I'm proud of what we've accomplished, and so it is what it is, and I will be on my way. There are things I will miss. It's like I told my wife. I said, you know what? The best part of being the county board chairman is the people I meet. I have met, and probably the worst part of being the county board chairman is the people I've met. And that's the honest truth. I mean, I've met some incredibly intelligent, dedicated, honest people. I've met people that will be my friends for the rest of my life that I would not have had the opportunity to meet if it wasn't for this position. And I've also met some people that I would no longer drink a beer with, and that's the sad truth. But the fact is, we go on, and like I said, I'll go out on top. I will mention that it's been incredibly gratifying for me, and totally unexpected, but incredibly gratifying and somewhat validating that the number of people that I've, since the story has come out, that have called me and personally told me how that they were disappointed that I wasn't running, that they were sad that I was leaving, that they really appreciated what had been done, and that's very humbling. That's very humbling, and it makes it a bit easier to go. And there's been a lot of that, and I would like to thank all those people that have taken the time to do that, because it means a lot to me.
It's hard to know, and we all, in the world we live in today especially, make conjecture as to what we think is the issue, if there is such a thing as a issue. I'm not going to delve into your personal life, but just the fact that you've done it, you're satisfied with it, and you're going to do, have what you've done stand on its own. But people begin to think, is there something else in your future? Is there something out there? because of the fact that you have been, your linguistic and verbal skills here on the program have impressed me, and I think that is how you begin to be suggested for leadership positions. He sounds, he gets up and he sounds intelligent.
Yeah, boy, I've got him fooled now. No. I appreciate that very much, Jeff. And you know what? There probably would be, and a lot of times they say, I wish I would have gotten to this earlier. I'm going to be 65 in April. Would I have liked to stay? I probably would have liked to do another term as county board chair. I think that we've got some incredible things initiated that I would really have liked to see through. But it's the cards weren't. I just didn't have the cards to do that. And you have to have some support, and you can't. The fight without that support is incredibly stressful, and there's times when you go home and you just say, why am I doing this? Why am I beating my head against the wall? But there's other times when you go home and you think, wow, really got something done today, really got something meaningful done, and it encourages you to go on. We've got some brilliant staff, and I mean, there's people that I love working with. And that was a great concern of mine. When I went back and forth on the decision for a long time, and one of the decisions for me was, where am I going to get that intellectual stimulation? Because I enjoy that. There are some department heads for the county that are incredible people to work with, and that gave me that outlet. How can we do this? Or what should we be looking at? And working as a team, putting those teams together. Ready grants, for example, putting those teams together to function for the benefit of taxpayers in the county, for the benefit of our constituents, incredibly important and gratifying for me. I don't know where I'm going to get that. I think that I probably may end up staying as a citizen member on a board, or maybe two, that I sit on now in a political position. May or may not happen. I've got a business of my own. I've got some other business concerns that I probably would like to spend some more time doing. I've got a wife that wants to retire. She will be younger than me. I've been officially retired from the private sector for kids. I think she sees that and wants to spend more time with me as well. I'm not looking to run for case. I mean, that time is past. Yeah, exactly. And I've been approached. I honestly, I'll be very honest. I thought about it once for later Wisconsin Rapids. But you know what? That's going to be an incredibly hard job. Whoever comes in there, there's some stuff there that's going to be, as I look at it, and look at the fiscal stuff, that's where you start. It's a lot seriously hard. I look at the city budget now and what's going on, and wow, this is going to be one of those deals where it's an executive budget, first of all, which is inviting to me. We've got a budget that's probably around $40 million. That's like one of our departments in the county. I'm used to looking at budgets that are over $100 million. You go to an executive budget for $40 million. Wow, yeah, let me have a piece of that action for a while, and we can make we can make a difference here. But it would be tough. It would be stressful, and I don't know that I'm up for that. I think that's part of what prompted me to walk away. The stress is incredible at times. Dealing with people that sometimes are rather problematic, and I'm certainly not going to name names or point you to skeletons, but I can tell you this: if you want to know any more, you can invite me back after I'm out of office, or you can buy the book. But the fact is, and I've said it. I've said it a million times, and I'm not afraid to say it. But politics is crappy business. He's not going to run again, but he may have the same kind of feelings as I do. There's incredible polarization out there, and for polarization to be an agenda for someone, or to continue or enhance that polarization, to me doesn't make any sense. I mean, county government as a nonpartisan, officially nonpartisan entity or government could be the purest model of democracy we have. But we don't do it. We tend to screw things up because we're humans, and that's our nature. But it could be a perfect model. And I go back to a perfect example of it. And I don't align with either party. I will not do it. In fact, I advocate that if we had more true independents out there, they would be the deal makers at higher levels of politics, because they can go both ways without shame or without recourse from their political parties. And we could probably get somewhere. I think an incredible example of how it's developed, and what I'm personally gratified with, is someone like Donna Rosar, the vice chair. We were elected to the vice chair. It was perceived that we were on opposite ends of the political spectrum. And probably on some issues, it was easy to see that we didn't agree. I don't know that we were antagonistic at times. But we've come to an incredibly strong, I think, strong working relationship, because we trust each other and we understand. We can disagree and have civil arguments now. I think that's what you have to be able to do. If I disagree with her, I don't look for a way to take her out, and I don't look for a way to call her names. And she does the same thing. And we've found that we think we agree on a lot more than we disagree on. Let's concentrate on that for the good of the county.
I've always said that I think as Americans we all agree on where we want to go and what we want to do and what we want to accomplish. How we get there, we kill each other.
Yeah.
I mean, demonizing people who don't agree with you is now the way that it happens.
Wow. I don't get it. I'll never get it. I wasn't raised that way. I don't agree with that tactic. There are people out there that that's.
But there's good people like yourself that just get swept up in the feeling of having people who are behind you or supporters of you who say, push, push, push. We gotta. You go tell him, because you're the head. You go tell him. He's a this and he's a that. It's like, I don't want to do that.
I think I've always hoped that you can lead by example, that you can do things by example at times. And I don't know how much validity that has anymore. You can get picked apart for a lot of things. Perception. The sad thing is perception can be 90% of reality, whether it's true or false. And if the right people pick up something that's perceived and want to spin it, you're defenseless. And the higher you go, I think the higher you go in the political realm as far as a leadership role, hopefully, the more you are respectful of the position. I mean, if you're in a high level and you fire back on someone that attacks you or maliciously, well, then who becomes the bad guy? You become the bad guy because you're the guy that's higher on the food chain. The little, someone that's out there can pretty much do or say anything they want, and it's problematic sometimes. But you know what? We did it. We handled it. Whoever is the next chairman, I hope that some of the things that we've started down are followed through on, because I think that we've done some good things. If we can continue down that road, if we have the courage to continue down some of the items that we've initiated, then I think that we've done some good. That remains to be seen.
Talking with Wood County Board Chairman Doug Machon, he has declared that he will not be up for re-election for either the chairmanship or your county board seat. How long were you on board before?
I was in this was my fourth term.
Okay.
And originally, that brings me to another issue. Originally, when I entered the board, I thought, I'm doing 2 terms because I believe in term limits. Well, what I realized, and this may sound somewhat hypocritical, but I understand it. At the time, I had people that I really respected their opinions say, no, that's not the way to look at it, Doug, because it takes time to get perspective and understand. And I truly understand that now, that there is something to be said about length of time in politics, because at this juncture, after 4 terms, I have some historical perspective. And that's very important as you look forward, to be able to look back and see what's failed or what's worked from a fiscal perspective, from a programmatic perspective. Some sense of historical perspective is valuable. And so that being said, yeah, especially from a budget standpoint, you have that. I think that has some merit. How long you stay? I think 8 years is a good run.
That's a two-edged sword, though. You can either say, we tried that and it didn't work, but now you've got new people, the time is different, the situation and the circumstances are different, but you hang on to that. I can remember when it failed and people begin to doom the project again.
And you know what? Sometimes that you're right. Sometimes that can be a hindrance, because there's some people that refuse to let go of the past when it probably should be. Well, back when I was here or when I was there, we did this and that. Sometimes those things don't fit anymore. The world changes. That's a fact. And so what worked in 1950 in Adams County or wherever you were doesn't work today. And to hang on to those historical perspectives is an erroneous line of thought in my mind. What's a good thing, what I think we're seeing happen, part of this is that we're seeing some shift on the county board to a younger average age. I mean, the girl. I don't know the girl that's going to the woman that's going to take my spot, but I know she's younger. She's much younger. To me, that's important. Number one, that she's a woman is important, and number two, that she comes from a younger demographic is important. You look at some of the board members that we have now that are in that younger demographic. I think that's important. You have to have that mix. You can't have county government run by 70 and 80-year-old people. And I'm not, don't get me wrong, I'm not disparaging our current board at all, but I'm saying I don't know that that's the most effective way to govern.
It's set up that way, though.
It
with
is.
city councils, too. Because
absolutely.
the amount of time that it takes and the time that they meet and the things that are required, only retired people can devote that kind of time.
I agree with you. I agree with you completely. And we that's one of the premises that we use to have the nighttime meeting in October, the nighttime county board meeting. And I've had people contact me about running for office that were younger, and I said, listen, the time commitment is not as dire as you would think. You're responsible to getting to the county board meeting once a month at 9:30 on a Tuesday, third Tuesday of the month. That's probably a 2-hour commitment. And I don't know what your job is. I don't know how you can effectively shift schedules. But I'm telling you, that's the major commitment. And then you'd probably initially be put on one committee. Some committees meet after, at 5 o'clock in the evening. Some committees meet during the day as well. But if you get an understanding chairman, he's certainly willing to shift some of those times around to accommodate his committee members. I certainly hope they would be anyway, because I think it's important. I think you have to have that voice from all demographics. You get to be a one-trick pony when you have one demographic on your board, whether it be a city council, whether it be a county board, whether it be a state legislature. You have to have perspective from all demographics in society, or it's not a true representative democracy.
You may be only on a committee, and you may be only going to the meetings from time to time, but the background and education that it takes to be able to understand the issues may require you to come up to Marshfield and look at Norwood and take a tour yourself once in a while. So there's more than just the meetings itself if you're going to give it due diligence.
You better be doing it. I would say, from my perspective, that's what I did. I mean, I can remember my first assignment was Health and Human Services Committee. So I got with the Human Service Director. I said, I want to go through every one of our facilities, whether it be an AODA facility, whether it be a long-term care facility. I want to see them all. I want to meet the administrators. I want to see how they're run. I want to be able to understand what the boots on the ground are doing, so that I can tie that together with the fiscal piece of it and understand what I'm looking at.
And what you're being told.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
there you go.
People can come up to you and say something, and if you haven't seen it or know it or understand what the physical plant looks like, you can be
very good point. Very, very
misled.
Good point. Very good point. And that couldn't be truer.
Talking with Doug Machon, County Board Chair for Wood County. He is not going to be running for re-election. He did not take out his papers. And we're talking about the amount of time and effort that it takes for, you use the word politician, and I kind of bristle at that, but it is. Because I thought to myself, it's an elected position. You are.
I don't run from it.
Maybe the lowest, or one of the lowest on the rung here as far as politicians and politics are concerned, but there certainly is a lot of it, and that's what it is at your job, and people begin to bristle at that a little bit, but having this job and being, whether you're on a committee, a commission, a board, you begin to understand more than when you're in the average public about how the ship steers. Mm-hmm. It's not as simple as...
And who's steering it?
Well, we could go in for why is this like that? I wouldn't have done it. Well, that's the dumbest thing. Everybody can sit out there and see where the mistakes are, but until you are in the captain's chair or until you're on the bridge and you understand the conversation that goes on, sometimes things happen because of the way, as we just said, it's presented to you.
Yeah,
I've been presented some things that I didn't find out were not necessarily factual in its entirety until after the event was over, and then I voted, and I went, well, I wish I'd have known that before we voted, but you purposefully didn't tell me that.
Oh, really? Wow, interesting dynamic, eh?
Yes.
Yeah, happens all the time. I've never run from the characterization of being a politician. That's what it is. Politics is in everything. It's in our everyday life. I used to tell people said, I don't want to deal with politics. I don't like politics. Well, you know what? Politics is you going out to the mailbox and getting your mail. Politics is the garbage being picked up in front of your house. Garbage is your streets being plowed this weekend. That's politics. And if people aren't aware of who they're electing, what they're doing while they're elected, and how they're representing them both fiscally and programmatically, then I guess I don't have a lot of sympathy for you, because it doesn't take a long time to before I was ever in this position, I'd have no problem calling state legislators or anyone. If it doesn't take 5 minutes, more than 5 minutes, to pick up the phone and talk to someone and ask them a question and get a viewpoint. I think we've really lost that. I'm glad that both the Hub City Times and the River City Times, they've taken an interest in reporting the happenings governmentally. We haven't had that really good in-depth reporting there that way. Other than I always loved these shows because it really gave me a vehicle for reaching out to people and letting them know what's going on. I think we need much more of that. I'm an advocate for taping all of our committee meetings at the county level, because I think if you can't get to those committee meetings, you want to see how the wheels of government turn and the nuts and bolts of government, go to committee meetings and watch what's going on there. Very few members of the public attend those meetings, and that's where it happens. And I can tell you this, that meetings run a lot differently when there's somebody there and when there's nobody there.
The collapse of print media on the local levels is what you're describing here, and you understand it because you're on that local level, that in order to get it to the national level, somebody has to pick it up at the lower level. The things we know about, we only know about because somebody reported on it at that lower level. But all those lower level jobs with print media have gone here. Here at the radio station, Mike is doing his thing as best he can with what he's got.
Yeah, it's. I think it's a sad comment on us, and I think that's where you get. And social media has filled that vacuum. And sadly, because if you want to get distortion of truth and facts, go to social media. I can't even look at some of that stuff because it's so ridiculous and so spun out of proportion and unfactual that it's, wow. And so many people get their information that, I saw a thing my wife pointed out to me. My wife goes on social media. I don't go hardly at all. But and she pointed out some discussions last night, and people didn't understand they were confused with what federal money was coming into the state. They attributed it to real estate taxes in the state of Wisconsin. No, it was federal money coming down for those programs. That's coming from your federal income tax. It's not coming from property tax in Wisconsin. But a simple thing like that, they didn't understand. So they were construing the argument in a way that was totally irrelevant of what it was supposed to be.
But the next thing you know, you've got people with signs outside your courthouse going, hey, what are we going to do about this?
Oh, yeah. And then that's happened. That has happened. We had some things last year that were spun way, wow. When we had the sheriff's rescue thing, that's one that comes to mind. Holy cow! That was I can tell you, and I'm not trying to belittle it at all. I think it was quite impactful that there was citizens that were involved in it. That was a good thing, but they had wrong information. That was an issue that was completely spun out of context, and I think probably on purpose. But the fact is, it was, and it was in my mind, and I don't want to address it in a cavalier way, but it was much to do about nothing, because the problem was going to be rectified very quickly by the new sheriff. But the fact is, we had to go through a bunch of,
And as a society, we tend to demonize somebody along the way.
Yeah.
They get torched.
Oh, yeah.
because they were the one who's got to be held responsible. Somebody's got to be. We got to pin it on, or somebody made the decision, or why did we? And talking with Wood County Board Chairman Doug Machon. By the way, you can too. 384-2191. 384-2191. He has not filed papers for re-election, so we're talking to him about the business, I guess, side of this. And they say it should run like a business. Well, it can't be, because this business is meant to lose right out of the box. It was never meant to make any money out of this.
That old compare. There's another thing, that I've always disagreed with. I said I've never run from the characterization of being a politician. I've never agreed with that old adage that government should run like you can't. I'll tell you one thing right off the top. Look at the accounting. The differences in accounting. They're totally different, which brings me to a point. We're looking for a finance director right now. And that's part of sometimes the problem of recruiting, because coming from the private sector, accounting in private business to government accounting, it's a big change, totally different. And that's just one of the reasons that government can't run like business. Another thing is, I don't know any businesses where you can find the published salary of every one of your employees. You can do that for anybody that works for the county. I can tell you, you can find out what everybody in the county makes anytime you want. That certainly doesn't happen on the private side for whatever reason. So there's a lot of major differences that you can't run government. There's certain aspects that you can't. There's certainly theories and philosophies that you can carry to the governmental side from the private side. I'm a big believer. Anybody that knows me knows I watch the bottom line. Doesn't mean I'm a no guy on spending. I don't say no to everything. But I'll tell you what, I want to make sure that my constituents, and that every constituent in the county, is getting what they're paying for. That's incredibly important to me. That doesn't mean we won't have discussions on programs, pro and con, whether they're necessary, whether they're valuable, whether they're effective. We're always going to have that. But the fact is, we need to have those discussions. And that's one of the things that you may or may not get in business, because there it is, in my mind, strictly bottom line. Some things, and I would catch hell for saying this in the public, probably, but in government, some things transcend the bottom line. And I think you understand that. There are some things that transcend the bottom line. We spend money on things that some people would say, what are you doing that for? But other people would say, that is a good thing. We need to have that. And you're going to make a philosophical case for how that helps. When you look at AODA, when you look at what we do for people that have dependency problems, you can argue we're doing that for the good of our society, and that you're going to pay for that one way or the other. I can't prove that. And I'm not going to say which way I believe one way or the other, but I can't prove it one way or the other. But the general consensus is that, yeah, that is money well spent. We're going to do that, especially from a county perspective. We're going to do that to an extent because we've seen the positives of that, and there are positive outcomes in many cases. Does that save you money? I can't tell you that, Jeff, it saves you exactly $10.96 on your tax bill. I can't say that. And I also can't say it cost you $5.25 on your tax bill. But we are committed consensually as a society, if you want to call Wood County a society, that we're gonna stick with that.
That what you've just outlined is at the basis of a lot of discontent, because people who pay $1 want $1 in value, mm-hmm. and sometimes that dollar goes to someone else from time to time.
Yep.
I could probably get my street plowed for less if I just paid for my 10 feet. That happened at a time, and everybody else laid down their 10 feet. Why don't we all have a moat at the end of my block here, and I'll pay for mine, you pay for yours? Well, it doesn't happen.
Well, I can tell you how good that would work. Just walk down the sidewalks tomorrow after the snowstorm. Some people shovel their sidewalks, some people they don't. I walked to the store the other night from my house. I like to walk, and the store is fairly close. So my wife and I strolled, and you go down, two houses got their sidewalk plowed. The next house hasn't shoveled their sidewalk all winter, and you're slipping and sliding. Okay, so there you go. Good example.
Yeah. Are we going to do that and send them the bill, or are we going to hold them accountable, or are you going to, and these are all things that are left to people to decide, and other people, somebody's going to be mad about it. It seems like no matter how you turn around. Talking with County Board Chairman Doug Machon from Wood County. You can too. 384-2191, 384-2191. We found out he will not be going for re-election. And he said he's not going to run for state assembly either. That was my next question, because, okay, if you're not doing this, then what are you going to do? You're too good at what you do to just walk away.
Well, I appreciate that, but I don't know. Maybe someone will ask me to do something. I think that my political life has probably run its course, and I'm comfortable with that. A man I bounce a lot of things off. Trent Miner, our county clerk. It's one of the first things he asked me when I finally came to the decision that I'm not going to run, because I wrestled with that for probably 6 weeks there before the deadline. I wrestled with it. I probably wanted to do another term. There's some big stuff out there that I'd like to see completed. And first thing he asked me, are you happy? And I said, it made me think, and I said, yep, I am. I'm there. I'm finally there. Didn't know that I was ever going to get there. But when I told my wife and my son that I'm not running, when I told them, I knew there was no going back. That was it. They were the first ones I told. And when I knew I was going to make that decision final in my mind, I knew that when I presented that to my son and my wife, that was going to be it. It was going to be in stone. And so the day I did that, immediately, the day I did that, I think that evening, it was like, wow.
The proverbial resignation letter was in the mailbox then, right?
It was a sense of relief. Because, believe me, and I don't want this to sound cliche, and I don't want anybody's sympathy about this, but believe me, there's plenty of nights when I didn't sleep over decisions that were coming, that were going to come before the board, that were going to come before my committee, or that had come before my committee. And I'm not trying to beg for anyone's sympathy, because that's part of the game, and I'm man enough to take that and understand that. But there's plenty of times when I was second-guessing myself, or wondering if we had done the right thing, wondering if it was the right course. And I'm not going to miss that.
All right, we'll take a break here. You mentioned finance director, and I want to ask you a question that just popped into my head here about the structure of county and how that works. Coming up here in just a moment. Stay with us on the Insight program, coming to you live this third Friday in January here on AM 1450 WDLB. You may be watching us on Marshfield Media Access here on Facebook or on their homepage, so stay with us.
I'm Sally, a volunteer at United Way. I'm asking people around the neighborhood what they think this place needs. Excuse me, hi. What do you think this place needs?
I'd like to see more parking.
More playgrounds.
Free movies.
That's easy. Better restaurants.
And you, what do you think this place needs?
This place? Oh, more ice cream trucks.
Okay. How about you?
Wi-Fi everywhere?
I was thinking more money in the pockets of local families come tax time.
Can I change my answer?
I was just kidding about the ice cream.
Oh, that's way better.
Now that you mention it.
When it comes to getting better tax refunds into the hands of local families, what this place needs is you. To donate or volunteer, go to unitedway.org. Because great things happen when we're united. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Hey, it's Eric Paulson, your charming and delightful Discover Wisconsin radio host, and there's plenty of January fun to be had all over Wisconsin. Make sure you check out these great Discover Wisconsin episodes this month, where we go to places like Hudson on Wisconsin's west coast, check out the Oneida Nation, go to the city of Menominee to explore, and even go on a cheese curd crawl, which is a lot of fun. Tune in every weekend, and be sure to tune into this station every Monday through Friday.
Weekday afternoons at 5:50 here on AM 1450 WDLB. WDLB's Inside program coming to you live here on AM 1450. You may be watching us from Marshfield Media Access on Facebook or on their website page, or maybe on Spectrum Digital Channel 989 on your Charter Spectrum Digital tier. I don't know if I'll ever get that out of my head. I've been referring to that since I was a kid. They were chartered. So, yeah. But talking with Wood County Board Chairman Doug Machon, we've been talking about the fact that he has not taken out papers for re-election after being on the board and now becoming the board chairman, and just talking a little bit about the face and the life of the politics at this level, I guess. You mentioned finance director, but it occurred to me, how is county government structured? Here in the city, we have a administrator. There's a figurehead mayor. There's no mayor of the county. Who's the guy at the county level?
That is a great point. Well, technically, it's me because I have a title of county board chairman / administrative coordinator. Structurally, county government can be set up three ways statutorily through the state. You can have an administrative coordinator, which is somewhat of an administrator, doesn't have the full clout of an administrator because the administrative coordinator can't hire or fire. They basically sign papers and can meet with staff, direct staff, but really has no teeth. That position has no teeth. Then you can go with an administrator, which is hired by and is hired at the discretion of the county board and can be let go anytime with a simple majority of the county board.
But he's the general manager.
But he would be like a general manager. He has the ability to hire and fire and direct at a much more intense level than an administrative coordinator. An administrative coordinator can be picked apart by anybody, whether it be a department head or a county board supervisor. There's really, it's not a strong, I think we're one of there's only 4 counties left in the state of Wisconsin that operate under that county board chairman / administrative coordinator. I'm a huge advocate, and I don't have any problem saying this. I'm a huge advocate for the county having an administrator. I think we need to have one. I think you have much more consistency with an administrator, and I think you have a direct oversight for department heads, and I think that's necessary.
Do you have an office that you're in on a daily basis?
No.
Well, see, as a department head, I know as a quasi leader in my position here that you go to the one, and say, I have questions.
I had one, but that's another story.
I see problems here. I want answers. I need to know which way to turn on this question of, I've got somebody on the phone here and we need to make a decision whether we're going to buy this or not buy this, or we need to...
I relished that. I love that. That was a big part of my job. I loved being in the courthouse every day. I thought that was my responsibility. I took that very seriously. That was, I think, I had a lot of comments from department heads that was refreshing and they liked it. Because if nothing else, I really didn't have the ability to lead in the sense of an administrator. I never had that. As an administrative coordinator, you just don't have those authorities. But I felt it was important to be there, as what you're saying. There's someone there that, if for nothing else, there's the perception of running the ship, and there's someone that you can go to. Many department heads took advantage of that and came to me and said, "What should I do here?" And I was hesitant at first to say, it's my opinion, because I had to preface it that way, because I really had no authority. I could certainly advise or give advice. But no, anybody could say, forget it. That's crazy. Or I don't need to listen to you. I'm going back to my office. You can go fly out the window if you want to. So that's where the difference is with an administrator. But I did take that part of the job seriously. I relished it. I'm working out of my office at home now with my cell phone and laptop, but I still take that responsibility. I still have regular contact with all the department heads as I need to and as they want. We're working very hard yet, and we've still got 3 months here, and it's not like I'm not skating. I'm not skating out of here. I can tell you that. I'm going to go full wide open till the finish line.
Well, there are people within the county who have questions that arise. For instance, budgetary concerns like snowplow. You
Yeah.
know, hey, I'm running out of money here. You know, you got any ideas where we might be able to pull some more in?
Oh, and exactly, yeah. And in fact, it's good. That's a good question because I just talked to Roland, our highway commissioner, this morning because I wanted to know where we were because obviously we finished last year in the negative because we had a terrible February last year, and overall we did not have a good year. We had a lot of snow. And so naturally, that leads to an overextension of funds and appropriations for snowplowing line item. And we finished last year approximately about just shy of about $350,000 in the red on the snowplowing budget. We did something this year. We did not adjust that number for this year. But as it stands, we did sell some properties that the county owned, and that money was put into the snowplowing budget. So we're good right now. We're in a good spot right now, and we're hoping to get through the year in a position where we maybe have a little bit of surplus with that upped money from the sales of those properties. And if we don't, we have kind of a reserve fund in our maintenance fund, which is basically money that we get. There's some certain townships that we do their plowing for. You know, there's townships that don't invest in infrastructure and assets to do their own road work, and so the county does that for a fee, and that money is put into what we call a maintenance fund. And it's used to replenish equipment, buy new equipment, and so that also can act as somewhat of a reserve fund, and we can go into that fund. We don't maybe necessarily can get by without a new backhoe next year. So we can take money that we would have used for that and maybe apply it to a snowplowing budget. And so we're in nothing to worry about. We're going to get through it. We're going to get through it the way we've always gone through it. It's not the first time it's happened.
Well, you have to. My eyes kind of bugged out when you said $350,000 to a guy like me. That's that's a little more.
Paycheck. Come on, that's one paycheck.
Yeah, for a lifetime. Yeah, if you gave it all to me at one time, it wouldn't be that.
Yeah.
But then you talk about do you know what it costs to do a full plow countywide after a storm?
Well, it varies because you could some storms you can get by with maybe just salting. And maybe some scraping, but like to what's coming tonight and tomorrow, that's going to be a full-fledged event. I mean, we're going to be out in full force, and they're probably going to be plowing early this morning, getting called in, and they're going to be plowing hard and probably can plow multiple times on the same thoroughfares because of the amount of snowfall. Timing of it. It's not going to be an hour and it's done. It's going to be probably at least, I'm guessing from the way it sounds, a 12-hour event, maybe longer. So you've got to keep at least the main thoroughfares clean and clear and free of ice. The last thing we want to have is any kind of fatalities due to the weather conditions.
Well, in the city of Marshfield, I've heard the figure for a full plow, $30,000.
Yeah, we should like that for the county.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. I don't know what that costs, but people don't realize. They didn't plow my street. Well, stand out there with your checkbook ready. We'll come by again. You know,
that's an interesting story, and I can't remember if it was this interview or if it was an interview I did in Rapids. But my wife and I have a property in UP, a little town called Ontonagon's, biggest logistic county, and it's about the size. It's probably bigger than Marathon County, and the population in the county is about 7,000 people. So not a big tax base, a lot of roads, and you know what they do? I was up there in the fall, I was bow hunting, and they had a 6-inch snowfall. Guess what? They didn't plow. You know why they didn't plow? Because they don't have the money to plow. They're going to wait. If they say they're going to get a 6-inch drop on Tuesday, but there's another 4 inches coming on Thursday, guess what? You're going to get plowed on Thursday. Some roads may get plowed on Tuesday, but it's not going to be a complete cleanup. And I'm sitting up there thinking, why aren't they plowing? There's 6 inches of snow on it. I'm thinking, oh, I get it. I look at their budget. I follow the politics up there as well. Maybe that's my next life, Jeff.
Yes, invest your tax savings in a half track because you're going to need it to get to where you're going.
Well, you know what they do up there, though? They just run the snowmobiles on the road. I mean, I remember when I first went up there, which was the 90s when I bought my property, and before I built my place, I'd stay in a motel, and we'd get a big drop. It's not uncommon to have a foot of snow during bow season in October. And I can remember one year I was up there, and that's exactly what happened. We got 11 inches of snow, and I think it was the 29th or 8th of October. I'm in the motel room in the middle, probably after 11 o'clock, I went to bed, and I could I'm looking outside. There are snowmobiles going down Main Street. Like, no problem, man. This is what we do up here. Interesting, but yeah, it's a different lifestyle, different way.
I guess so. So we have, and by the way, snowplow budget reset again. You go off calendar year, even though the winter does not.
You bet.
So you reset again with a new rollover here and started fresh in January. We're in January, so.
And I think we're at right now, and we're, like you said earlier in the show, before when you were doing the weather, we're a little bit behind last year as far as snowfall amounts. I think right now the snow plowing budget's in mid 600, 650, 630 to 650, something like that's where we're at. So we're in pretty good shape. I don't have a lot of worries about it right now. We certainly have a plan. Roland knows what he's doing over there, and we'll be okay.
So another one of the things that the snow does help is recreation. Powers Bluff.
We're going to be open tomorrow.
You took the first ride down there?
I did. I absolutely did.
On a tube?
Yeah, I'm an old guy, and you know what? The funny thing is, it's the first time I've ever been thrown off my tube. But it was early in the season, and there was a few twigs and stuff sticking out, and one of them, for some reason, I wasn't paying attention. You know, it's the old thing. I've been down that hill a million times. I hit one of those outcroppings of brush, and it slowed the tube down quick enough that it threw me off the tube on my first run down. So I had to get up and walk down the hill, but it's the first time it ever happened. But yeah, I actually asked to be. I said, you know what? One of the things I'm going to ask for as the county board chairman, I want to be the first guy down that run because I like this fantastic facility. Tomorrow will be a beautiful day to be out there because it's going to be snowing. It's going to be a typical winter day in Wisconsin. I can hear the sounds of the kids' voices echoing in the trees at the top of the hill, and fireplaces roaring, and bring your lunch and go out there and take the kids, let them go tube and sit around the fireplace and warm up and drink some cocoa and maybe roast some hot dogs. It's a wonderful, wonderful facility. I used to love it when I was a kid in high school. We used to go up there. They used to have Thursday night skiing. And so us guys from Lincoln would go up to Powers Bluff, and we'd meet all the girls from Marshfield who would come and ski on Thursday nights too. And it was so much fun. Just great memories of the place.
Talking with Wood County Board Chairman Doug Machon. You can too, live on WDLB 384-2191, 384-2191. About running out of time here this hour. I don't know that I can give you 60 seconds here because you want to go for 60 minutes on a Ready Grant. But
Ready Grant's working. We have
explain that before you go much
the Ready Grant was the grant given us by the USDA through the USDA for Rural Economic Development Innovation Initiative. And we put together a steering team of all our partners, Marshfield, Rapids, people that are involved in business, education, small businesses, foundations. We put together a heck of a group. Picked two themes up from the 5 that they allowed us. One was economic development, is quality of place, which is placemaking. And we're working on objectives and strategies to complete those objectives, and we're going to be meeting again shortly. It's going really, really well. Really impressed with all the people. Steering committee, if you could see the steering committee, a bunch of very smart, engaged, enthused people. Very, very incredibly gratifying to see those people come together and be involved for the county.
Economic development, it's a thing that is not necessarily a fun, a glamorous, but boy, in the long run, it can mean success long after you're gone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'd like to be here to finish that one up. Not going to be, but hopefully it gets carried through.
All right. Well, good to talk to you again. Thank you for coming up and visiting with us.
Always my pleasure, Jeff.
How many more visits do we have
I
here?
think we've got 2, maybe 3. I'm not sure. 2 for sure.
Okay. Well, I'll see you the next time.
Okay,
then,
you bet.
all right? Here on today's Insight program, Doug Machon, Wood County Board Chairman, visits with us live on the radio this third Friday of the month. And you can watch us on Marshfield Media Access, whether it be on their Facebook page or whether it be on Spectrum Digital 989 on your Charter Digital tier, that you can watch the programs in rotation with other governmental programs along with programs here from WDLB Radio. So, till we talk to you again, I'm Jeff Cannon.